gentlemen, they had some good publicity recently at the University of Sydney, and of course his work examines the functional roles these animals play in nature. Where would we be without insects? I'd be fine, but he thinks it would be bad. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome nearly a professor, associate professor, Dina Hochuli.
I guess when you put your mind to it, you think about insects and sex and humans, you think of some fairly unpleasant interactions. We refer to them as crabs. They're really insects, pubic lice. They've got great affection from the public. But pubic lice are in crisis. Their habitat in the last 10 years has undergone massive deforestation. Hundreds of thousands of square kilometres of pubic hair have been cleared every week. Regard for these animals. Refer to as the biodiversity crisis. I'll leave it a little bit later. It's an important thing to think about. I'm an entomologist. When people think of entomologists, they tend to think of people carrying these things, butterflies. They're the ultimate urban accessory. Now, you're obviously sophisticated festival goers. You're here at 11:30 on a Wednesday night. You know you can say a lot about yourself with the right accessory. This could say, I want to seat on the bus for myself. I live with my parents. And if you want to impress the ladies, you can even make some lightsaber noises when you use it. You've just got to turn it on. Now, I get my students to do an insect collection as part of their training. One of the joys of my job is watching the best and brightest young minds of their generation do battle with a bunch of animals that have 20,000 times less the brain capacity than they do. I can tell you who's going to inherit the world. It's not my second years. One of the things I'd like to allude to is sex, and I'd like to allude to some notions of natural things being good. One thing you learn if you're watching the insect world for a while, particularly if you're watching insects have sex, is that if it's natural, it's something you shouldn't try at home. I had a PhD student working on some creatively named animals called green plant bugs. Insects don't have very good common names. You've got stick insects, insects that look like sticks, dung beetles, beetles that live in dung. There's even a group of animals called, group of beetles called cockchafers. Don't want to talk about it. Anyway, these green plant bugs, turns out they're 4 millimetres long, quite nondescript. Turns out they practice something called traumatic insemination. Traumatic insemination kind of rolls up the tongue. It's sort of the opposite of immaculate conception. There are no deities out there that want you worshipping at their church of the traumatic insemination. Basically, traumatic insemination involves a group of bugs that have decided that the best way for the males to inseminate the females is to take this massive sword-like penis and shove it through their abdomen and pump them full of sperm that way. Basically, just not taking the conventional route. This is all done in the name of trying to ensure paternity. Apparently in nature, trying to show that you're really making a commitment to fatherhood involves shoving your penis through someone's abdomen. But it's a really interesting strategy. I always wonder what the first bug that did it was thinking. Like, you know, saw a female, but I wonder if I'd try and... Anyway, I think when you've got a massive sword-like penis, a lot of the normal social conventions just don't apply. And before this sounds a little bit too misogynistic, I should point out that it's not just males inseminating females. It turns out the males like to traumatically inseminate other males as well. And this is where traumatic insemination gets weird. So, you're over there, you want to traumatically inseminate your mate, that's fine. The really neat thing is that when your mate then goes and inseminates some female, he may actually be passing on not only his sperm, but your sperm from that recent traumatic insemination you gave him. So it's an interesting way to do things. So anyway, sex has consequences, some undesirable ones, and one of them might be kids. Now, in terms of parenting tips, insects aren't the place to go. A good example would be parasitoids. These are animals that lay their eggs inside other animals. Basically, these animals have decided the best way to raise their kids is for the mother to go and deposit the offspring in some other animal. You hatch in there, you eat the animal from the inside out, you basically eat the non-essential organs first in your defence, and then you basically kill it, pop out, try and find a mate, have sex, probably just once, and then you do it to your kids. Basically, if you think you've got hang-ups, look at the insect world. One of the consequences of losing insects isn't just less scratchy genitals, but basically we're also finding a lot of other things rely on insects for sex. Now, plants are a great example. Plants aren't getting enough sex. One of the reasons is a lot of insects that used to visit them aren't visiting them anymore. Now, when you think of plants having sex, you're trying to wonder how it's going to work out. Plants want to have sex, basically. One of the things you want to do, they're just like us, they want to get their male bits to meet their female bits, but it's really tough if you're a plant, right? You're basically, you're rooted, literally. You can't. So, you're a shrub over here, right? You've got your male bits ready to go. There's a female plant over, well, a bit of the female over here. You'd like to get your male bits over to the female bit. How are you going to do it? Nature's got the answer. You see them as moths and flies and wasps. Plants see them as flying genitals. Basically, they'll come up to you, rub against you, get all this spermy stuff, your pollen all up you, and they'll fly over, find you, find the female bits and start rubbing them all over you. It's a great way of making sure you can get yourself fertilised. That's the romantic version of plant sex. It gets complicated though. If you want to really attract these flying genitals over, and it's something you really need to do, you need to make an effort. You know, sometimes looks are enough. Sometimes you'll attract these genitals just for your looks. But usually you need to do a little bit more. Food's a great option. The food will try and encourage these flying genitals, these moths, wasps, butterflies will fly over, come visit you, they'll rub their stuff all over you, and basically you get yourself pollinated, disseminated, fertilised. But sometimes looks and food aren't enough. And that's when female deceit enters the picture. A bunch of orchids have basically tried to exploit male stupidity by creating flowers that look like the bottom half of a female wasp to try and encourage these male wasps to come and visit them. So I'm a male wasp flying around basically, and I look over and see the flower, and it looks to me like there's a female wedged in this flower with her butt hanging out. I should have asked for a volunteer for this. Anyway, so the male's there, he sort of looks over and goes, oh, there's a female wedged in a flower, and he goes, yeah, whatever. He goes and copulates with her, not only fertilises the plant, drops a little bit of his wasp sperm on there as well, plant's happily fertilised, and nature keeps rolling on. They call it pseudo-copulation, which I think is a really mean term. Pseudo-copulation, it's kind of like saying a romantic evening with your sex doll doesn't count. But basically that's part of the pollination crisis. There's a bigger picture issue here with pollination. We're losing thousands of species of bugs that play an incredibly important role visiting these plants, and it means that plants are simply getting enough sex. It's probably one of those modern malaises. There's just not enough sex happening out there. It's a problem for conservation management, whoever was doing a little bit of that before. But it's also a real problem for food production. Right? We need to have these plants getting visited, you know, these bees buzzing around, visiting and creating, fertilising the flowers and making the fruits that we like. So this shortage of sex had to be addressed, and I don't know where the inspiration for it came from, but this shortage of sex was addressed by the use of battery-powered vibrators. Basically, you go up to the flowers, give them a little bit of a buzz, take your vibrator, rub it against the other plant, and you're getting the pollen moved around, the plant's getting inseminated. So, the story so far is this: they, a lot like us really, they like to inseminate each other in weird ways, they're terrible parents, provide all manner of sex service, but they're incredibly important. If humans disappeared off the planet today, the insects would barely notice. If insects disappeared, we'd collapse in a screaming heap. We need to value these animals. We need to value them, but whatever you do, don't base your love lives on them. Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Peter Hochuli. Yeah. School of Biological Sciences rocks. Tonight. Possibly never again, but tonight. frogs. My favourite bit, I think, was when he said, it's tough being a plant, and a woman down there went, yeah, right! Who was that? The plant advocate. Yeah! More rights for plants, you bastards! You human assholes! Anyway, that was excellent. And, oh, that bit about the wasps. Like, that's wrong, isn't it? Like, if you see something that looks like something you want to have sex sticking out of a plant, like, you're going to be walking home through Hyde Park, so there's every possibility. Shouldn't you ask first or something? Like, isn't that polite, at least, and if not polite, legal? Like, the end of that story is, and the wasp comes in and fucks the plant and then gets arrested and gets 7 years in jail. If wasps are a right and just society. You might have noticed we have a sort of a loose theme of sex flowing through tonight because we thought that'd be a marketing winner.